Hey everyone, just an editor's note here. And part of this episode, Maylin and Christina talk about holiday secrets. So we would recommend not listening to this episode with young children nearby. Thank you and enjoy.
Welcome to True Print for Life. I'm your host, Christina Vera.
And I'm your co-host, Maylin Sambois.
Welcome back. This is actually a very exciting episode. Maylin and I have been holding a secret. Not a real secret, but a little bit of a secret.
It is a secret.
Is it? Okay, but you're going to tell our listeners today.
I mean, yes. If you know me deep, you know. But if you are just joining this amazing journey, I am becoming a mom in 50 days or less. Where's for my doctor?
50 days?
50 days or less.
50?
Like 50.
Oh, God. I got to get ready.
Yes, Thea has to get ready. Yes. And this is the big thing because some of you may know, like I'm 40. I waited a long time, to have kids. I actually wanted to have like the career, I had like this idea of wanting to have certain things in place first before I had kids, because growing up as I did, I didn't want my child to go through some of the things that I went through. And I figured like, let me make sure that some things are set. Having said that, you can have a plan and it can still differ from what God actually makes happen. So I also had to come to terms, like the plan that I have been creating for 20 years is not how God intended for this child to come to me. So I'm excited though. I have a name, I have a middle name. You'll find out that when he gets here. I'll say that in another episode. But for now, I am expecting a baby boy and my due date is January 21st.
So crazy. I mean, it's just so, I love it because oftentimes we meet so many women that feel like society has put all these parameters around us as women, which, not to be biased, but I feel like, do men get the same pep talk? Because I feel like women,
they don't.
I've never heard a man say, I have to have children by 30 or my life is over. And it's like, but women, we're constantly being told like, okay, you got to do this. By 30, you should be married with children. By 40, and it's like, no. And I love that you said that, you wanted to kind of figure out what made sense for you. And I think that everybody's on a journey. Everybody has, just different things that come to them at different times. And so I love that, you're 40 and you're having your first child.
Yes.
And it's an exciting time. And, you've been preparing for a while. And so it just goes to show that, it's kind of on your own clock, you and God, obviously, but it's more of just figuring out what makes sense for you and not allowing society to make you feel less than if you haven't done it according to somebody's rules as to what women's timelines should look like.
And you get a lot of pushback. Being Latina was not easy because, as you guys know, I've been married twice, right? So when I was married, it was like a lot of like, oh, you're married, great, when are the kids coming? And it wasn't, right? Like they were not coming because there was things that were planned before then, and my family couldn't really understand it. Like I used to like dread sometimes going to see family because that was the first question. It's not how you're doing. It's like, when are you having a kid? And then also friends. Everybody had these expectations that I had. And then it also really made me feel like something was wrong with me because I didn't have these kids when people expected me to have these kids or wanted me to have these kids. And to be honest, I'm so grateful I waited because I think that I'm going to be a better mom now with the knowledge and the growth and the healing that I have done that I would have been 20 years ago.
Yeah, your kid is going to benefit so much. See, my children, it was kind of like a learn as you go kind of thing because I also got the negative end of that stick because being also Latina and having a kid out of high school, I was like the talk of the family. Everybody's like, because, I was only 17. And so, I'm walking around my high school pregnant. So it's like the shame of everybody looking at me like, oh, she's pregnant, And I will never forget when my homeroom teacher announced to the whole damn class that I was pregnant. God rest her soul. Because, she was old then. So I imagine she's gone.
She may be alive listening.
She might be alive. Ma'am, if it's you, you know who you are. You told all my business in that homeroom class. And I was just mortified. I remember sitting there So, in our district, there was around the time that hospitals were creating mobile units, and they were going into inner city schools to provide prenatal care, dentist appointments, eye visions, just essentially like making sure that inner city youth who didn't have access to certain health opportunities or medical care had access.
I love that.
Yeah. So it was
Bring that
cool.
back.
Right. So it was cool because when I found out I was pregnant, I was petrified, and I forgot how I ended up telling the school. I don't even honestly remember how they ended up finding out, but I got signed up to be a part of the bus that would come, and it was like a full doctor's office on a bus. So they would come, park it in the back, and the nurses would come into the office, and then they would send slips to the class so that the girls who were all pregnant in that building would basically, like, we had different appointments staggered. So they bring in the slip and they give it to the lady. And so, I wasn't paying attention. I was writing or something, and she just looks at the pass, and then they put on the pass, which when you think about now from the lens of privacy, like, it should have probably never been put on the pass, like who it was for. Not who it was for, where I was going. Yeah. And so she reads the pass and she's like, Christina, and I look up and she's like, the pregnancy bus is here.
Oh, God.
And I was like, oh, hell no. So I was sitting there, and everybody, because I wasn't showing it. I was super petite, and like, I was an athlete. I played basketball. So I was like small still. I had my body hadn't been all stretched out yet. And so everybody's like, and I remember this guy I was cool with since like middle school. I've known him forever. He was like, Tina, you're pregnant? And I was like, yeah. And I just grabbed my books and I just run out the classroom like a drama episode off of one of those teen movies. And I go to the office and I call my mom, and I was like, so my mom's like, what's wrong? And I told her what happened. She's like, I'm coming to the school. And I was like, okay. So she hangs up. I go into the pregnancy bus, as she so eloquently put it. They do my appointment. She comes, and my mom went ham in that school. Mm-hmm. She wanted, the principal came.
The teacher,
they brought her in, and the teacher was not remorseful at all. She was just like, well, these girls want to have children. They need to be prepared for what society has to say about it. And so that was the initial mindset that I had to get prepared for, because there's this stigma around girls who, and I'm not promoting having children early. Like, for me, it was not planned, but it wasn't also being prevented either. So it was just like, here I am, high school senior, I'm having a baby. Now my school knows, and my family, shortly, my mom hadn't told the extended family yet. She was just kind of waiting. And then she slowly started to tell all of them, and they were all like, oh, like, it was just this instant, oh, your life, girl.
Chisme,
you have no idea. And I was just like, I felt like I had the Scarlet's S on my back, because I was now, with child. And so there was just this horrible stigma around, people automatically assuming, because I had a child early, that I would have this horrible, complicated life.
Your life was over, really.
Yeah,
that's what
my
they
life
used to
was
say.
over.
It's over.
And so
your dreams are over.
So I think society has to start to really evaluate, that we shouldn't project so much negativity, whether you decide to wait. And, constantly asking women, when are you going to have a child? When are you going to have a child? Like, stop asking people that. I have never asked anybody that. I have never said, when are you going to have a baby? It's none of my business. If you ever want to be a mother, I have a good friend. And I remember after she got married, somebody asked her, like, oh, when are you guys going to have a kid? Like, just like your family. And she was like, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm not having children. And we thought she was joking at first. She was like, no, like, my husband and I, like, we talked about it and we're fine, just us. Mm-hmm. And one of my friends was like, but you're just robbing yourself of this. Mm-hmm. And internally, I wanted to be like, all right, girl. Kids are not for everybody, because it is a lot of work. It's a responsibility. It's a commitment. And I think even in the beginning, when I started to have children, I love that you said earlier, like, your child is going to have the best possible version of you.
I pray so.
And I believe so. Unfortunately, all three of my kids have had 3 different versions of me. My poor oldest, I always feel so bad for her, because I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I was 18.
You did the best you could.
Me and your dad really were just trying to survive. It was no plan. We didn't have any money.
You were kids yourselves.
Oh my God, we were kids ourselves. And so, and so now we're married, and it all,
By the grace of God,
21 years later, like in retrospect, God willing, like we figured it out. But like when we had her, like he was taking her to school with him. Like it was to the point he was in college, and he had to take her to classes with him. Like they would sit in the back, and the professor was cool because I had to work and we didn't have childcare. So he would sneak into the back, and the professor caught him with Maritza in one of the classes because she was small. So he would bring like something to like entertain. There was no tablets back then. Right. Tablets became like this hot thing now. Back then it was just like, here's something. And so like the professor let Kent bring her to school. And so like,
because he admired the fact that he wanted to help himself so much that he brought his kid. He's like, I admire that.
And they let him bring the kid. And so to your point, it's just it is hard. It's a big decision, and I think that we have to be kinder to women, as it relates to their decisions to have children and what motherhood looks like, because motherhood looks very different for everybody.
It sure does. And I think sometimes because it was ingrained in me, I have asked people those questions, and I have to catch myself like, first of all, none of your business, Maylin. Number two, like they just told you this. Like, why can't we just accept it, right? Because I have had one of my cousins is getting married actually in 3 days. And he and his girlfriend, they're young, Jehovah's Witnesses, and they decided they're not going to have kids. And I don't know, like they all Dominican be like, what do you mean?
What?
Right? So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I can't be like, I'm not a saint, guys. I'm telling you. And then my mom and I were having this conversation. I was like, what am I doing? And I said, you know what? I cut myself. I said, if you guys decided that you don't want to have kids, that's fine. And the great thing is you can always change your mind or not. Yeah. But it's your marriage, it's your life. Do what makes you happy.
Because once you have them, you can't change your mind.
Right.
I mean, you
can change your mind once you get married.
But I'm just saying, like, once they're here, then
I mean like change their mind to have or not have. Yeah. Once they get married, right? Like they decide, because they're young, And I'm sure, knowing my cousins now that I reflect on this, even speaking now, he doesn't probably want to have kids because he went through so much growing up. His father has stage 4 cancer. That he's not going to make it much longer, we know. And he's like, I don't know that I want to put my kids through this kind of things. Yeah. So I can see right now he's speaking from probably a place, or whatever place him and her are in. But I think sometimes we have to check ourselves because even though we know better, these things are ingrained in us, right? Like it's been so ingrained in us that we have to say these weird things to people. So I have to work on that. But I am grateful that, I'm in a position right now that I could be a single mom and not be worried. Like I have a great support. And, and I think a year and a half or 2 years ago, I had this feeling of single moms. It was the weirdest things. I was like, I want to help single moms. Something has to happen with single moms. My mom was a single mom for a while. Your mom was a single mom for a while. So I always have had a heart for single moms. There was something very special put in my heart where I wanted to connect with organizations that were helping single moms. And I did, to figure out how I helped them because I was drawn to it. Now being a single mom, I always think, man, like I'm blessed. I wake up and I'm truly blessed that I have a family that supports me. I have, I have you. I have my, that I'm not alone in this, but there's so many people that don't have this, right? And sometimes I just pray for them because I know this is difficult, even though I have support. I just can't even imagine not having the support that I have and having to go through this journey, right? With not even with the wisdom that I have now. A lot of the women they have not invested in their personal development and professional development because they've been in survival mode all these years. Right. They're bringing a child, and this child is going to come into this survival mode kind of state. So that's why I've been doing all this work. Now, I did have a bird. So I have a bird, guys. Let me tell you about this real quick. Because the bird, even though I never wanted to have pets, it was a rule of mine, childhood reasons. I never wanted to have a pet. Love them in people's houses, not in mine. I had to rescue my bird last year from the owner because a wonderful lady got the bird. Older people get birds for free and they're excited, but they don't know how the birds work. I have a cockatiel. This cockatiel makes noises.
All day long.
And she gets really excited when the doorbell rings, when somebody's at my door, when Christina comes over. So when my friends come over that I love, she's like, yes, they're here for us. They're not here for you. But this is my bird, Gabby. I took Gabby from my neighbor because my neighbor was having like heart palpitations and was getting physically sick because she just did not want to deal with the bird. So I took the bird to find a place for the bird. I took the bird for a month, took the bird to the veterinarian, right? Which, oh my God, pets are expensive, kids. So I think I'm preparing.
Yeah. You've been a mom for a while now.
Listen.
You just didn't know.
The doctor told me the bird could never fly. because she had an injury. It's a she. We call her a she. Okay, I hope she's a she. She had an injury in her wings that was never treated, so she could never fly. And I could tell you the first thought I think is like, who's gonna take this bird now? Because I can't take a bird hurt. Like I just can't do this. Is not in my spirit. And I had this thing that told me like, oh, like it was like inside. I heard a voice that said, oh, so now that she needs you, she's gonna give her away. What if this was you? I was like, oh wow, like how deep is this? So I kept the bird. I have had the bird now for over a year.
It's been 2 years you've had that bird.
It's gonna be 2 years in July.
Yeah.
Yes, 2 years in July.
Dalton knows.
It's gonna be 2 years in July. But let me tell you though, like this bird, as you know, she's not super high maintenance. But I was reflecting the other day, and it really was a way for me to start preparing to care for another human being, or another person or animal or thing besides myself. Because for the longest, for 40 years, I've been taking care of myself, my siblings. But then when I was, older enough to be on my own, just me for all this time, now I was responsible for this living creature that's in my house that I have to feed every day, and care for and talk to. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to talk to nobody, and the birds makes noise. I have to go talk to Gabby. And it's just, I thought like that prepared me for what's about to happen. It's not the same because I know a baby will be very high maintenance, I think, compared to a bird. But it has prepared me to care and be aware that there's something else in my house besides myself that needs my attention.
Yeah. And that's, I think, the biggest perfect way to put it. Like parenthood is, it really teaches you how to be able to put someone before yourself. And it's such a selfless act of love and service. And people ask me all the time, they're like, oh, Christina, like, what has been your biggest accomplishment? Like what, they are so focused on the professional aspects or accolades. And I'm like, to be honest, if I can win at just being a parent, I think that has been probably the biggest thing of my life, biggest opportunity. Because to your point, it's just such a, it's such a different element of feeling, a different element of just seeing something that you put into and you start to see the flourish, how they flourish or, just their personalities. And, my kids are all spaced out very, probably about 4 or 5 years apart. And, my oldest, like I said, she was a product of 2 teen kids who didn't really have any understanding as to what we were doing. So often, she always makes comments with the other 2 because she's like, oh, you guys are so spoiled. And it's just like, to your point, high maintenance. And you have to be mindful of the expectations you set for yourself. And then also not thinking about the expectations that society sets for parenting either, because it's different for every household. Every household will look different. And I'm working on being more mindful just because we didn't have a lot and, that I'm not overcompensating with the 2 small ones or even with my oldest, like we still take care of all her bills and stuff.
But she's in school. So
she's in college. She knows like when she graduates, I'm not in no rush for her to go off either. Like I want her to be ready. And, God willing, we're in a position to just pace ourselves in that way. But like, it's true. Like, I mean, the other 2, they have had a very different version of me and my husband than, Maritza did. And that's just because of time, and you learn and you become way more aware and way more hypersensitive. But I had to be really mindful of not comparing what was going on in my household to other households. Just because this mom did this or this dad did that didn't mean I have to do this. Like, I just got to a place of like, if I want to do it and I can do it, I'm going to do it. But I also have starting to learn about scaling back on some things because
tell me what
every year,
why are you making that change?
Because every year, like the birthdays get more and more complicated. And I'm like, I only have so much I could produce for this new generation. I think we talked about this before. Like this new generation, everything is because the internet. I never knew that parties could even look the way that they looked. I didn't know that gifts were the gifts that you could have until I started seeing the internet. And I had to, I keep having to catch myself like, no, you cannot put an ice skating ring on the side of this house so that Adrian can go out there and skate around for 5 minutes and come back in the house because he's cold. Like these are things that I'm constantly I need to be mindful of, like not setting my kids up to think that these are normal, like everyday things.
This is life.
Because in their mind, Chick-fil-A, sushi, like no BS thing.
Just right now.
I got a Christmas list today from my middle daughter.
Oh, this is normal though, guys.
I literally put it in a group chat family because I'm like, is y'all's kids list look like this? Because
I'm looking at our team right now, and they're looking at each other like we send Christmas lists to our parents.
Let me tell you, no. This Christmas list is the following, and then she decorated it. She's got a little blue.
How cute!
If you guys can see,
you guys have to send this to them.
Like
so
there's a little 1 through 9. There's a little snowman up top.
Is that the most happen?
Yeah, it's like Juliana's Christmas wish list. At least she put wish because she knows she's wishing on some of these items.
Now, how are they categorized?
Let me tell you the categories here. I thought they were and she was very organized. The penmanship was impeccable, so I read it with no problem. Number 1 says gold cross chain. I'm like, okay, a gold cross chain. I think I could pull that off. Ultra mini Uggs plus Ugg slippers. A Marc Jacobs tote bag.
Marc Jacobs, the brand name?
Like the brand. She wants a puffer jacket and vest.
What's a puffer?
You know those coats that are kind of puffy, but then the cute little vest that's like short?
Okay. She's tiny,
yeah,
so I get
she wants
it.
an Apple Watch, a MacBook, gift cards to Starbucks, Bath and Body Works, Barnes and Nobles, and Pink, clothes, small/medium from Brandy Melville, Hollister, Shein, Fashion Nova, Garage. And then she wants makeup, lashes, lip gloss, perfumes, and candles.
Did she put Goodwill there? Did you
No,
see that Goodwill? Because I would take the Goodwill
why she put
store.
Marc Jacobs because I don't think they sell that at a Burlington Coat Factory. So.
I do like that way. I like to take the gift cards. So which kind of price? I think I got the Bath
but
and
this
Body
is my
Works.
point. These kids, I'm like, who? And I wrote her back. I said, I'm sorry.
I like to look at the list.
Who is this list for? Because
the whole family.
Santa Claus? Because but this is my fault because in their minds they think that we can produce stuff like this.
Well, first of all, I like to know what she's going to do with a MacBook. Like, where did that come from? Does she have like a little thing from the school? Did the school give her a computer?
Yes, I don't know what she needs a MacBook for.
When she gets to college, hey, Juliana, when you listen to this, I love you. This is Titi, Dominican Titi here.
I'm just like,
when you get to college, full ride, we'll work on the Mac.
We'll talk about a Mac.
Yeah.
I just bought a MacBook for the first time, like 2 years, not even 2 years ago.
Right.
I'm like,
and you had to force yourself, like, okay,
and I did because
need
I
it.
am so frugal. I'm like, what? How much is it? No way.
And they're like, here.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
Give
just,
me Easton.
Parents, don't kill yourselves, please. Like, just really think through, especially now as we're dealing with economic changes and stuff. It's like, I'm looking all over my house for Elfie. I can't find the elf on the shelf.
Can you tell people what Elfie is? No, I don't even know what Elfie is.
Guys,
can we
whoever
please
came up with elf on the shelf, call me because I want to understand what the whole theory was and why I bought into Elfie. So the elf on the shelf, as you know, is this little elf that appears on December 1st and he shows up, he or she, whatever. I'm not gonna go into that. And Elfie's doing all these random things, and your kid is supposed to find it in the morning. And there's a note, and there's activities, and it's just literally last year I bought an elf on the shelf kit because I didn't know what to do with the elf. I had lost all creativity on what Elfie could be doing. So unfortunately, after Christmas, I didn't do a good job of putting Elfie away. My son found Elfie and I panicked and threw Elfie in some random place. And now it is now December 2nd. I have not been able to locate Elfie and my son wants to know why Elfie hasn't arrived.
And we either mislocated or donated it.
I don't know. And I have to work on that this weekend. And my fear is if I buy a new one, he's going to know it's not the same doll.
But does he know that they have cousins and friends?
I don't know, but this is the BS I'm talking about. Why do we do this? Why do I do this?
This is an American thing,
I know.
I just want to put that out. It's not in the DR.
Nonsense. I should have never done it. And
wait, what is the right age to tell him that Santa doesn't exist?
I don't know, and I don't. And,
let's start talking here.
And if you're listening, 10, right? And if you're listening in the car with your children, just pause this if your kids don't know.
Hey, we probably should do that in the beginning. So in the beginning of the episode, we're gonna say if you have children, this is related to Christmas. Do not listen with your children in the car.
Because Elfie is a big deal in my house. And he's 9 and he still thinks everything is magical. And I don't want to take that away from him. So
you're thinking when he's 17?
Whenever he just comes to me one day and doesn't ask anymore. Because I think there's a power in the magic and the innocence of he still thinks the Avengers are real. He thinks wizards are real. He thinks all of the above is real. And he'll always ask me, he's like, Mom, how does Hulk break buildings down like that? What does he eat? And I'm like, he eats this
spinach.
And he has so many things that he's adamant, he wants to know how. And I don't want to kill that for him because I feel like eventually it will go away and he'll start to see the ugliness and the reality of parts of the world. And I don't want him to feel, I don't want to rush that. Like, I feel like he has time. He's 9. He's our last kid.
He's gonna be 10 in May.
Yeah. So are you implying he needs to know Elsie's
No,
not
I don't
real?
know, because I'm not a
implying?
professional. So I feel like we need to do some research, though.
I
Maybe
feel
for
like
another
when your baby
episode.
comes, I'm going to let you feel that and just see like if you feel like they need to know at a certain point. Because you might feel different.
I think my kid's gonna be that kid in school, be like, "Mommy told me Santa don't exist."
You're gonna tell the baby right out the gate, like, actually, Mommy bought all of this.
Heck
so
yeah!
just
I'm
so
like,
you
Santa's
know.
a beautiful story.
No, and some people do feel that way, and that's okay.
Because I don't want to lie to them.
I know. I realized Santa wasn't real quick. And nobody had to tell me. I just knew when I woke up on Christmas, I was like, I didn't ask for any of this. My dollhouse is not here. Once my mom started apologizing, I said, oh, so this is all a lie. Okay.
And how like your whole like...
It just killed my whole life.
Yes.
I was so sad. I just remember we used to go see the Christmas lights in the station wagon. We had a station wagon back then, and we would climb in the back. And my sisters and I would be like looking through the windows, and we were like, oh, it's so magical. And then it just... somebody messed it all up, and I don't know. So I don't want to kill Adrian's vibe.
Don't ever lose your sense of wonder. But for me personally, baby here is gonna know the truth.
Okay.
Because I don't want to lie. Like one of the things I'm trying to do,
I want to lie,
is not lie and be like, and they can still be magic.
So
right?
There's no tooth fairy, no Easter bunny. So we can talk about the rules for your child.
So
because
the thing is that I'm Dominican, right? So.
I'm like, wow, we're not going to do any of these things with the baby.
He's gonna be like really 100% Dominican, so we feel like we're gonna give him some
Easter
things.
Bunny? What about the egg basket?
Me personally have never really done things.
I'm all about the Easter.
I know,
hunt.
and thank God, baby. Let me tell you, baby, when you grown and you listen to this,
your baby's not gonna have any of these moments.
You're going to Titi for those. I think that she likes those things.
I do big baskets. I'm too extra.
She's gonna make one for you as well. She makes one for her grown kids now, so we're just gonna add you to the list.
Absolutely,
we're just gonna add him to the list of that for the things that you did for the little Easter bunny thing. Yes.
All right. Well, this episode is to be continued, guys. Yes. We'll come back
because we'll do some research about what is the right age to tell your child.
I don't need that. She needs that for her own.
I need it for her because what happens when your child finds out, when this child that you have that is so amazing finds out these things are not real?
I will have a very crafted explanation.
So
I don't know what it is.
So we're gonna research it, and once we have it, one of the episodes will be telling you how that was handled, because I think that's important.
The girls and I never had a flat out conversation. One day they just knew, and it was like it was an understanding. It was like, I see you. Thanks for the gifts, and that was it. There was never no like, let me explain.
But not your son.
Yeah, okay, you're right. Well, thank you all for entertaining us today as we travel.
One last thing.
Yes.
Before you buy gifts this holiday season, and as you're making changes, yes, buy things for the people that you love. But if you don't have insurance, I'm gonna go with this. If you don't have like a life policy and you're not protecting your people, like get that first and then buy gifts, guys. This is the piece of advice to protect the future of your family and yourself. It's so important.
Yes.
So don't buy thousands of dollars of gifts if you have not bought a $200 policy for yourself in case something happens, because tomorrow is not promised.
All right, now that Maylin killed Christmas for all of us,
you're welcome.
Thank you for listening. And as we say here at True Print for Life,
it's bigger than you, Christina.
It's bigger than Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, everybody.
Thank you so much for listening today. We're excited, and we hope that you follow us on
Instagram, True Print for Life, YouTube channel, also True Print for Life. And make sure that you share, like, watch our videos. Make sure that you follow us on all streaming platforms.